Hey there, boys and girls. It's Ralph Garman, and you're listening to Talking Codswallop. Good choice.
Hello, everybody. This is Ming Chen from AMC's Comic Book Man. You might know me from the Tell 'em Steve Dave podcast and the I Sell Comics podcast. Listen, I love podcasting. I love talking, but what I really love doing is talking Codswallop.
Hey, I'm Alicia Witt.
I'm Daniel Portman from Game of Thrones. I play Podrick Payne.
I'm Ellipses, and you're listening to the Talking... Okay, I'm Mark Bernard, and you're listening to the Talking Codswallop podcast.
Hey man, it's Kevin Smith, Silent Bob, whose voice you were never used to hearing in the 90s until I started opening it up, man. And that's because I'm a podcaster and you're listening to a podcast, Talking Codswallop, right here, man.
Welcome to this week's Talking Codswallop. I am Gemma. With me today, I have a special guest, and one of the reasons why I started this podcast was to give people who are very, very creative a platform, and this guest is no exception to that rule. So please welcome to the show. I'm going to actually say his surname, but I'm wondering if I'm saying it correctly. Garry Azzaro. Is that correct?
Azzaro.
I do apologise. Yeah. Thank you.
No, that's okay.
He's coming to the show to talk about his board games that he does, which are very, very bespoke and amazing. And the company is called International Ridicule.
It is.
So, yes. So, hi. First of all, hello. Garry, how are you?
I'm fine, Gemma. You?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I'm on full 5G at the moment because I had my second jab yesterday, so not
nice.
Too bad.
I've only had my first jab, therefore that must be why my Wi-Fi is rubbish still.
Yeah, sorry, you're only going on the 4G at the moment, so don't worry, it will come to you though.
I long for the day.
Yes. But, but it's good that you've had your first one, so that's good news, isn't it?
Yes, they looked at me and said, "You're a sick man. Come in for your jab." So,
well, to be honest, that's the only reason why I've had the both of them now is because of where I'm diabetic. It's the first time I've actually been really pleased that I'm diabetic because I've actually been able to be protected from this awful disease. But
Sure.
Anyway, we don't want to talk about the coronavirus.
Never heard of it.
No, what virus? So. Let's talk about was it official to call them board games? Is that correct?
Yeah, what it is I do is I design and make custom-themed property trading games. That may give you a clue as to the format of it, because I can't use the official word that's already out on the market. But property trading games where you move around a board, you can buy properties, you can build things on those properties, and you can swap deals, and you can possibly end up in a punishment square, that kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's very bespoke the way that you do it as well, isn't it?
I design and make each one to order, so I do them mostly on a commission basis. So whatever your fandom, be it a favourite film or TV show or band or sport or, as I have done in the past, podcast, then I can turn it into a bespoke custom game exactly how you want it.
Yes, and as one of the people who's actually purchased one of them, I can tell you how amazing they are. We put together, well, it was sort of mine and your bright idea because it all came together at a Comic-Con, didn't it? And
it did. I think you guys were looking for something as a birthday present for a certain other podcaster.
Yes, yeah, we can name and shame him.
Yeah, we can name and shame him. Yeah, Brian Johnson of Tell 'em Steve Dave.
Yeah.
And I believe that was the first time we sort of had a mini British ant mute as a result of Kevin Smith being at London Film and Comic Con. And I think in the pub afterwards when they were talking, you guys were talking about the present, and I think either yourself or maybe even Ian, who was with us, went, "We've literally got a guy here who makes board games."
Yeah, I think
that's something
actually
bespoke.
I was going to say, actually, I think that I actually might be taking part credit here, but I think actually it was Ian, or as he's publicly known, Squeean.
Yes.
Yeah, well, he's actually known as Squee. But I just like to call him Squeein to irritate him. You know, you can tell when it's a close friend because I like to irritate the person. But
I have loads of those.
Yes, yeah. That's why I always pick on James, you know. He's a close friend. But yeah, I can actually say that it probably was his idea and that I latched onto it and was like, oh my God, we have to do this. So the only downside is that, well, when it was actually handed to him was on a cruise in the middle of the, obviously in the middle of the ocean, and it was handed to him by my good self. But we're not 100% sure what happened after that stage.
I imagine he's on the cruise. There's lots of things going on that it's somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's either going to be in amongst all of the Impractical Jokers sort of like gifts and stuff like that they received, or Brian's got it, and you know, you never know, he may play it with Sage. But it was absolutely fantastic. You know,
yeah, it's fun to do.
Yeah, it was. And, you know, it was really good. One good thing about working with Garry with these kind of projects is that you asked a lot of feedback as to what we thought and what we wanted on it.
Yeah,
it wasn't
absolutely.
just your own ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I try and do with each and every board game, is I'll do the research. I mean, if it's like film and TV, I can do the research, but if it's something a bit more, you know, if you've got a favourite character that died in episode 2, you can still have them as the top square. Or, you know, if you had a favourite show that got cancelled after 6 episodes, you can still have a board game of it, because that's what I'm here for. I'm here for the fandom. So I like to research as much as I can, but there's obviously little touches and things that people might want in each game. And I've done family games as well before. So, you know, that kind of thing is, if you want to put your family into a board game, then send me those photos and tell me what's what. The more information you give me, the more personalised I can make it for you.
Yeah, exactly. So before because obviously we've covered kind of, we're not fully that aspect of things, but, you know, we're sort of touching upon it. But actually, just before we sort of get into it further, I was going to say, where did the idea come from to actually start up this business, and what kind of background did you have prior to it? Sorry.
The crazy thing I always say to people when they ask that is, I made a thank you for a friend and it really backfired. Back in 1998, the official company that make this property trading game brought out a Star Wars themed one. And I had a friend come round one time and we played it, and we were playing it just for a laugh, and he, apropos of nothing, just said, it's a lot more fun when it's themed on something that you kind of like, isn't it? Imagine having a game themed on something you're really into. That'd be amazing. And I went, oh, yeah. I didn't think anything more of it. And then about a month later, my car broke down. And it was a bit of a long and lengthy, expensive process to get it back on the road. And my friend, bless him, would drive out of his way to pick me up in the morning.
Oh.
Drive me to work. He worked just down the road from me. He'd then pick me up in the evening, and then drive me all the way back home before going back to him. And he would do that for about the next month with not wanting a single thing. No petrol money, no bottle of wine, no nothing other than a thank you, and that was it. And I was there going, well, that's a bit wrong, because he's far too nice and far too generous with his time. And then, as you were saying about the background of it, I was working for a print repro house at the time, having not long finished my apprenticeship as such. But I was quite established, and computers were slowly starting to come into the studio.
Okay, yeah.
And so the job I was doing was more of a manual work, print, like colour proofing and match print making, film planning, that kind of thing, old school print. But I was at the point where I need to buy one of these Apple Macs that are coming into the studios, because I'll need to learn that. Otherwise, I'm going to be, you know, obsolete. So I bought myself a second-hand Mac off a colleague. And my first task was to learn all the software that I needed to learn, was to design a property trading game as a thank you for my friend, which was a real baptism of fire. And that one was themed on the comedy music artist Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh, amazing.
Because we're both big Weird Al fans. But back then it was quite simple. MacBooks now and what they do are so much more advanced than what they were in 1998. So I was using I think it was Photoshop 4, Illustrator 3 and Quark 3.32. That means nothing to a lot of people, I realise, but software wise, when you see what you can do in Photoshop these days, it was nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah, because definitely it was like quite a lot of it was back in the days when technology wasn't as advanced as it is now, basically, isn't it? But
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, the handy thing was I worked for a print repro company and I had contacts, so I managed to get the board printed by a company that was situated next door to us. I learnt the craft of FIMO and made little counters and properties for it.
Oh.
I designed all the game cards and managed to get my boss to run them off on our brand new colour laser printer that was the size of a room at that time. I wish I was joking.
No, I know. That's why I'm laughing. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I hand illustrated a lid the size of an old litho film box and housed it in that. And my friend still has it to this day.
Oh, amazing.
He's just moved house. He and his wife have just moved house, and he very kindly sent me a note to say that he'd put the box of things Garry has made me in a separate car with his parents to take over, rather than with the removal van, because he didn't want anything to get lost or damaged. Somewhere he's looking for it. He's trying to find it in amongst his movable, but he's got a photo of us playing that very first game in his old flat. And he's trying to dig it out for me so that I can pop it up on the social medias.
Yeah, that would be absolutely fantastic to see, because firstly it would be embarrassing probably because of like the haircuts or the outfits or whatever.
But get my big old 98 glasses, yeah.
Oh, don't worry. I had to wear glasses when I was from the age of 5 years old, so I remember those horrible glasses.
I've been wearing glasses since I was 10, and the teacher was of the attitude that you just need them to see the blackboard, and I've now come to associate that with why I spend so much time in pubs, because they've all got blackboards.
Yes, that's quite true. Yeah. And if you're wearing your glasses, you don't run the risk of having double vision, so thus you can't get drunk.
I tend just to get sober. It's much easier that way.
Yes, definitely. Drink until you're sober.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but I do like the little reference to, well, you've called it FIMO. I call it FIMO, so I don't know which one's actually correct, but I'm going to go with yours because you sound like you're a lot more knowledgeable than I am.
Oh, I have no idea.
No.
Never occurred to me.
No, but yeah, I used to love that stuff. Used to like enjoy playing with that and everything. It was amazing stuff.
Every now and again, a certain project comes up that will necessitate that, and I've got another friend who very kindly goes out of her way to volunteer herself and do things. If they're a bit unusual, she'll do it just to pass the time. She's like, I need something to distract myself. Let me do it.
Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good to have friends in the know, definitely. With regards to the little pieces, because obviously everything is bespoke about this board game, isn't it? So
yeah.
With regards to ours, we had like little microphones and oh god, I can't remember in full, so I do apologise, but I know we have microphones anyway. Was there ants as well? Or
there were, I think it was ants and microphones for the Brian Johnson board.
Yeah, well, first of all, people who don't know who Brian Johnson is, it's not the guy from AC/DC. It's no. Basically, it's from a podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave, and the listeners are all called ants. So, like, the listeners of this podcast are all called salty tadpoles. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which I still love to this day. But yeah, so they're called ants. So me and Garry are both ants in that sense. And yeah, and so back to sort of my question, whereabouts is it that you actually get those little figurines? Obviously, you don't need to provide a supplier or whatever, but...
Oh, no.
Yeah.
With the, I'll say the first couple I did were sort of FIMO creations. Mm-hmm. And again, that's why I want to see this photo, because I want to remember how bad they were. Sorry, let me just mute a work laptop that's buzzing in my corner.
Okay.
Yeah. So the original first few boards were FIMO pieces that I crafted bits and pieces out of. Then I just, as things grew, I mean, it started in '98, and then I did the odd one here and there for people as gifts. And it wasn't really till 2005 where it really picked up, and I got my first commission to make one and what have you. And at that point, I started sort of finding imagery and printing them as tiles. So tiled counters, tiled properties. Then over the years, as it got bigger and bigger, I would start outsourcing, because certain projects it was like, it needs to have this as a counter, it needs to have this as a piece. So I would scour around online trying to find charm shops or like bulk retailers, wholesalers, certain auctioning websites, certain mass, maybe Southeast Asian websites that sell all kinds of weird and wonderful things. They would be a godsend, particularly if I had the lead time to wait for things to arrive in the post. But yeah, I would source like little silver charms or counters or pieces for that from there that would be bespoke. And now more recently, it's still a work in progress, but I bought a 3D printer beginning of last year, but had no room to put it anywhere. But then we all started working from home, and I suddenly found the time and the space to put it somewhere. So I'm now experimenting with a 3D printer, which will hopefully open the door to a lot more pieces. I've just finished a board game, in fact, for a band, a comedy folk band called the Lancashire Hot Pots.
Ooh, they sound good.
They're very good. I only discovered them beginning of last year, and then throughout lockdown, they've done a weekly online quiz. They've got a couple of music videos online. They've been releasing live concert footage. They've been doing chili challenges and crisp challenges called Corn Snack Corner. They've been an absolute godsend of lockdown with lots of free, funny and entertainment going on. They sing a lot of, like, say, comedy, sort of like folky songs. They'll sing about things like egg, sausage, chips and beans, or they'll sing about beer or crisps. They've got a song in the style of Oasis called Shop Mobility Scooter, which is great. They do like a reggae calypso about the bin man. They're just lots of sort of very British, but yeah, just very British, very northern, but a very great sort of sense of humour. So just for fun off my own back, I designed a game based on their output.
Yeah,
which they've gone nuts over. I premiered it at the beginning of the bank holiday weekend, and I put it on their social media. They went bonkers over it. So I don't know if they're going to get in touch and want one, but if they do, they are already on the list as definitely getting one from me if they want it, because they have provided a lot of help, to the point that I had to utilize the 3D printer in order to print a Shop Mobility Scooter. Which you can't get anywhere, but you can't buy that on a charm shop. But this is the whole point of the 3D printer, is that I can maybe expand the charms into all manner of weird and wonderful things per theme.
Yeah. Well, that really does sound cool. And I like the idea of a 3D printer, but how do they actually work? Because I have honestly no idea. I'm trying to sort of put it into my brain here, but okay. Yeah. Do you like scan an image into like a computer first or something for it to?
There are ones out there that you can get that do that will scan. This one's not quite so high end. This one is relying on files, but there are a lot of free resources online where you can either download files that other people have printed, or you can go in and it's basically like a CAD based thing, which I don't understand, but there's lots of free online software that you can get into, and you can create bits with like pre-formed shapes, or you can take existing ones and amend them and tweak them. So it's a bit of a learning curve. There's a lot of things that can go wrong. I've basically become an engineer at the same time.
Yes.
So yeah, there's a lot of high-end temperatures that are used. It runs on filament, it heats it up, it melts it out, and then it translates the information from the files you've got into making it a 3D model. So I'm still not quite sure of the bits in between, but as long as it prints and it looks like what it's supposed to, I'm happy.
Yeah. Oh no, that's absolutely true. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, it just baffles me now, like to this day of all the things that we can do nowadays. It's how far technology has come. You were saying, we're joking, but serious about the photocopier, color photocopier, copier, being in the size of a room, to now, probably this tiny machine that can actually do 3D printing. It's or in comparison, tiny machines. I'm sure it's probably not tiny, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's like when you were at school, and they used to say, you won't have a calculator in your pocket all the time when you're older. And then you've got a smartphone and go, how wrong were you?
Yeah, exactly. In your face maths teacher.
Yeah. I sat outside his house at 2, 3 in the morning just shouting through his letterbox, you're wrong.
Oh, I love that. I'm sure you probably didn't do that, but I love the idea of that. And maybe if we are ever allowed to sort of meet up again, we'll we'll go and bang on his door and go, look what I've got, a calculator.
Yeah. How wrong were you? Now who's the teacher?
Exactly.
Well, hopefully meeting up wise, all things considered with this roadmap plan, the London Film and Comic Con is currently going ahead in July, and I have a stall booked there.
Yes.
And I know that when I'm at London Film and Comic Con, if you're there, you will pop by and say hello.
Oh, I absolutely will. I hunt the floor to find you, don't I?
You do. You do. You
Yeah.
always pop by and say hello, so that's always appreciated.
Yeah, and James to this day thinks that you're a mythical creature.
And after 3 tours of Olympia to try and find me, I think he was giving up all hope. When you guys did finally find me, I think I hopefully reassured him that I exist.
Yes. Oh, it was fun though. It was so fun, and it's always really nice to see you at the Comic-Con as well, because you're always dressed in an amazing shirt that's promoting your boards that you do as well, aren't you?
I am wearing one today. It's not even a Comic-Con thing these days. I am a shameless walking brand whore.
Good for you. Well, to be honest, I walk around in the my Talking Codswallop t-shirts and stuff like that. So it's
yeah, exactly.
Although we need to update ours soon. We need to sort out a t-shirt company to get a little bit more merch now that we've changed our logo. But
Sure.
But that's by the by. But with regards to the Comic-Cons, do you find them quite beneficial then, getting your name out there? And do you ever get people actually buying the boards?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I always used to go to Comic-Con with a board game or two. If there was a certain guest signing there for maybe Doctor Who or for Red Dwarf or something like that, I would take one of my boards with me and I'd queue up and I'd get it signed. As a regular punter, I used to love going to Comic-Con and doing that. And I used to find that when I was walking around with, because you've seen the board games. They're full-size board games, but they don't fold like the traditional one. They're a flat piece.
Yes.
And that's because each one is bespoke. It's not cost-effective for me to start looking into getting ones that fold, and then also you get a giant crease down the middle of your board game, and that doesn't look nice. You want it to look cool and funky. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So when I'm walking around with those things, you can't really miss it. And especially if you're in a long queue and people in the other queues at Comic-Con are looking over and they're like, where the hell did he get that from? So I would have people come up to me randomly and say, where did you buy that from? Where did you get that from? And of course I'm there going, well, I made it. And people are like, holy crap, I'd totally buy one of those. So you get that sort of feedback. And it got to the point from doing that I'd start taking business cards or flyers with me. So if people came over, I'd be able to say, well, get in touch. Whatever you're into, I can do it.
Yeah, which is an amazing way to, it's kind of like word of mouth, but it's, I was going to say word of eyes, isn't it? Because it's people see the goods before they can, before they buy, sort of thing.
Exactly it. They can see it, and I mean, all they really see is the board. They don't see the little cards and the banknotes and all the bits that come with it. Mm-hmm. So it's that kind of blind faith that people have when I give them a flyer that if they get in touch, they've got to hope that I can deliver the goods for what they want. So that's one aspect of that. And then it got to my birthday, and Comic-Con fell exactly on the Saturday. On that is a winter Comic-Con. I sort of said to a couple of friends, I said, I'd love to do Comic-Con, but the next one's on my birthday. Imagine spending the whole day of my birthday, the whole weekend of my birthday, being at Comic-Con, just actually exhibiting. That'd be weird. And everyone turned around and went, well, why don't you do it? I was, what? They sort of called my bluff and said, well, if you'd love to do it, why don't you? It's your birthday, why not? And luckily I've got a very understanding wife who encouraged me and said, hell yeah, do it. And then my nephew turned around and he was like, well, I'm going to be there anyway, so I'll help. So I booked it. I booked the space and I took the stall, and I took what I had. I took my time to sort of look at who was going to be there guest-wise or what sort of things might appeal as a theme. and I narrowed it down to taking maybe like a dozen boards with me. I don't even take that now. I take about half a dozen boards, maybe 8, something like that. I don't need to take 12, but I took half a dozen boards with me, about a dozen boards with me. On that one, and I sold maybe 2 games that weekend.
That's amazing.
But even then, it was the buzz of being there, the buzz of people talking to people about it, people coming over and expressing an interest and wanting to know what it was, and people taking flyers. I sort of worked out the model of me doing Comic-Con isn't to go and sell what I've got on the stall. It's to sell the idea of what's on the stall. It's to sell the idea of what I can do, for you.
Yeah, so it's in effect, I was going to say sell yourself, but not like in a quite in a prostitution kind of way, but yeah.
I mean, I'm open to offers, but it's more a case of I have to sell the idea and sell the product and sell what it is. And if I'm at Comic-Con with half a dozen boards and I sell 1 or 2 of them while I'm there, well then that's a result. That's great. But they're ones that I've made kind of specifically for the purpose of being at Comic-Con. They're not bespoke or personalised, but they are one-offs. But then once people see what you do and they go, what, you can make one based on my family, you can make one based on my favourite film, you can do this, you can personalise it, you can put my own photos in. The minute they get that idea, then they'd like take a flyer and they'll wander off, and you can see the brain ticking as to what they want to do, and they're thinking not just for themselves, but for wedding presents or anniversary presents or special milestone birthdays or just gifts in general.
Yeah, it's an incredible idea.
The buzz of just being there and seeing people's faces sort of light up and start ticking over as what they would have. And you get to have some great conversations. And I've met some great people there, not just fellow exhibitors there, but I've got customers that come by every time to say hello. And it's great if they do, because these complete strangers who once bought board game off me then start talking to other people at the store going, I've got one. This guy can do anything you want.
Yeah.
And it's just really nice. And people bring their friends over, which is just, this is the guy I was telling you about. And that's just amazing. It's nice to make friends and see regular faces. And after the last year of not being able to do that, I'm really hoping that July goes ahead and that we can all, in some capacity, be in a room together, geeking out over our own fandoms.
Yeah, definitely. Sort of going to touch upon the Comic-Con side of things in a minute, but just quickly before we do, oh, hold on. No, because I was going to say quickly that, sorry, that was my brain moment, where I had a brain fart moment, and then I'll go back to actually my question. The nice thing about your stall and what you do and whatnot is when you are at a Comic-Con, everybody's brilliant and all of the stalls are fantastic, but there are a lot of people that are kind of doing and selling the same sort of things, which is what is amazing about your stall, is because it's very eye-catching and poppy, makes people sort of come over to it because it's so different, and it is such a different idea and concept and things like that. Like I said, there's a lot of comic book shops that are there selling their merch and things like that, and that's brilliant. But even like with the people who make stuff, quite often you'll see that one stall, they'll say, for example, badges, random, like this person will sell badges, and then you go a couple of stores down and somebody else is selling badges. But I've never seen at another Comic-Con, at the same Comic-Con, another Comic-Con or whatever, anything like what you do, which makes it very, very unique. And
I mean, that's what I aim for with that. I mean, there are times where you've got like a 3-day event, you do look over at the guy sat in his chair selling T-shirts, £20 a pop, without even looking up from his phone while he does it. And I'm just sat there having to pitch myself onto the never-ending speech about how I design and make them all, how you can have it personalised and everything else. And there's a Bill Bailey routine about being at Glastonbury and how you get the guy who'll put your name on a grain of rice, and he'll write your name on a grain of rice. But what's in an astral fridge magnet? Oh, bloody hell, another one. Trying to fit it on. It'll be long grain rice, you know that. He looks over the stall next to him, is your name on a jacket potato, and it's just a guy with a marker pen going, Dave, Keith, knocking them all out. And sometimes I look over, I go, wish I'd thought of that. And I'm just thinking, I'm the guy with the grain of rice, and that guy's just the guy with the potatoes, because I'm having to stand and physically sell myself.
Yeah, exactly. But you're also very, very approachable as a person as well. So, like, obviously I know you, so it's kind of different in some ways, but, it's like, because I've seen like a group of people around your stall before, and I've thought to myself, well, I'm not going to go over right now because obviously you're busy. But, it's kind of like watching from afar that you are really sort of passionate about what you do. And it comes across very, very well. But it doesn't come across in a kind of ego kind of way. You're not pushing these people into buying it. You're just telling them this is what you can do for them, like you said. And it's really refreshing to see. I think it's, I think, and I also wish in some ways there was a lot more of that at Comic-Con, but not to do with your product, because, it has to be yours.
Like I say, it's a learning curve that since 2013, when I did my first one, where my initial brainscape was to take 25 board games and sell them all while I'm there, and then realizing that wasn't feasible and just taking a dozen. And then over the years, you sort of go, well, if I just take maybe 6 or 8 or 9 with me, that's all I really need, because people are buying the idea. And it's that thing where I don't expect people to walk up to my stall and see exactly what they want there and then. They might do, because that's what, like I say, I'll sell 1 or 2 while I'm there. But the idea is I want them to walk away with a flyer and have a think about it. I don't want them to rush into it and go, I'm buying that one there and then, unless they really want to. I want them to think about it. I want them to fire their imagination as much as they're going to fire mine. I want them to think of the possibilities of what they could have, because you have this thing where fandom is a very personal thing. You can be a fan and you can have hundreds of friends that have that fandom as well, but it means something different to each and every one of you, I find. And, your least favourite movie is someone's all-time go-to. So whatever your theme is, it's my job to try and put as much into it as possible from a fan's perspective. Even if I don't know it, it's my job to research it and get to know it, and then pick up little details and make little suggestions or throw little things in that a fan would love. And that's not always possible, but I'll do my damnedest to throw little things in so that each person who buys a board knows it's theirs.
Yeah, which is brilliant. With regards to your boards that you decide to sort of bring, do you kind of think like who's going to be there, like who's the guests? Because that might create a little bit more of a buzz as well.
Yeah, I do sort of think ahead, and obviously I'm a fan of a lot of things as well. I mean, an awful lot of things, and sometimes I'll make a board game I made one for myself years ago, and I ended up donating that to a charity quiz I was hosting. And I was like, I'm destined never to own my own board game. But over the years, I've accumulated quite a few that I've had signed personally to me because I've designed it as a fan.
Yeah.
And so I will look at the guests of who's at Comic-Con, and I will look at it of maybe I should do a board game based on that. Maybe I should do a board game based on that. And I also try to look at that guest and think they are going to see 100 things, all based on one film they're famous for. I want to do something a little bit left field to that. So like when they had Christopher Lloyd there a few years back, I'm not doing I've done a Back to the Future board. I've done a couple of Back to the Future boards. Each one different. Each one is bespoke. I never repeat the design so much. If I get asked for a theme I've done before, then I'll tweak the design so that no two boards are completely identical. I might change a centerpiece, or I might change a couple of squares, or move it around. So each one's different. So I've done Back to the Future boards, and if I'm going to meet Christopher Lloyd, I don't want to go with Back to the Future, because then you sort of become another one in the line. He's signing it now. He's not even looking at it. I also think that's a little bit more, I don't know, I just think to me personally that you want to maybe put some thought into it. If I'm bringing something I've made, I want to put some thought into it. So when I met Christopher Lloyd, I took one based on the US TV sitcom Taxi that ran from 1978 to 1982, which Christopher Lloyd joined he was in the first series as a one-off character, and then they brought him back in the second series and made him a regular.
That's attention to detail there, isn't it, as well? That will sort of stand out to him a lot more.
He did give me a wry smile. I think I was possibly the first bit of Taxi, I mean, not just memorabilia, but also something he wouldn't have seen before either. And I'm a big fan of the show as well, so that was an enormous boon. But yeah, I try to sort of think a little bit to the left of war, unless it's unavoidable. But it's one of those things where you kind of want to go to Comic-Con with stuff that's aimed at maybe some of the guests,
Yes.
But also, if I want to get it signed for myself, then I want it to be a little bit left field of that, just so it's there. I mean, when they had Robert Hayes, I did make an airplane board because that's like, the thing he's most famous for is Airplane and Airplane 2, despite having done loads of other stuff, but nothing that's going to capture the imagination quite like the Airplane movies. So I made an airplane board, and he was absolutely knocked out by it, bless him. He was holding up the board once I explained to him what it was, and he was like, "You made a board game of my movie?" And then he was like looking at the guests that were sat either side of him signing photos. He's there, he was waving at me, signing photos. This guy made a board game for me. Kind of thing. So it's just nice sometimes to go with that kind of thing. Like, I looked at the guest list and what I could do. Sometimes it's easy to jump on a bandwagon of what's popular and just take games of that. But again, it's not really what I do. I'm too bespoke for that. To capture each and every fad that comes out. Like, I mean, Stranger Things, I think they brought a Stranger Things board game out before the second season even aired. But by which point I'd still be rewatching the first series to work out how to put the board together. But that's why I don't want to mass produce everything.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I think it loses its appeal when you've got loads of them out there, to be honest. I mean, yes, it is amazing. Like your friend sort of said at the very beginning, you referenced that it is so nice playing a game when you're actually, you love the product or you love the TV show or whatever. But I think, when there is mass production of things, it isn't unique and it isn't very special to you as an individual, is it? So, and no. Like you being everybody else rather than yourself, actually, But but also, if I remember rightly, didn't you one year kick yourself because you were going to do an In-Betweeners board and Blake Harrison had walked past your stall or something?
Yeah, I was going to do an In-Betweeners board, and then it just became one of those things where it's on the back burner because of time and schedules. And I was like, well, it's okay. There's only 2 of them from the In-Betweeners there. It's not like it's all 4. So maybe the pressure's off, and I'll wait until all 4 are there, and then that'd be more special to do it for. And then, the last hour of the Sunday, as everyone's starting to pack up their stalls and everyone's starting to vacate the premises, Blake Harrison walked past. He actually stopped at the stall right next to me and went to buy something. And the guy was like, no, have it on me, man, because I'm a big fan of the show. And he's like, oh, right, yeah, cheers. And I'm just there going, should have got around to doing that In-Betweeners board. Board game wanker.
You should have said, you know what, you should have said that. You should have shouted that at him, with a cheeky grin sort of thing. Board game wanker.
That's how far I get.
Yeah, I mean, you either get escorted out or maybe he brought one.
Either way, but it's on the back burner. I will get it. The other one I kicked myself on was when they announced Zachary Levi Levi as Shazam, and I'd been talking about doing a Chuck board game for ages. I'm a big fan of Chuck, all 5 series of that, and I was like, oh, and they literally announced him like 2 weeks before Comic-Con. Which is no time at all for me to design, make, print, produce a game. And then he was situated next to one of the guests that I was already sort of going to meet. So I was this close to Zach Levi, but I didn't have anything for him to sign.
No. But next time, hopefully there will be a next time. Yeah.
Next time. Stephen Baldwin and Brandon Routh have signed it since, so I'll take that as a small consolation.
Yes, definitely. And with regards to the ones that you've had signed, have you got like a favourite one that you've had signed? And also, what do you do with the boards after they signed them? Do you keep them yourself like on a wall somewhere, or?
Well, the ones that I have signed, I kept. You can tell how much of a fan I am by whether I have it tagged to me, because that's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. I have a Doctor Who one that I designed a few years back. It was just after Matt Smith was announced as the 11th Doctor. So I have one that's it's the 11 Doctors edition. So it's got all 11 Doctors featured on it, from David Hartnell up to Matt Smith. And it's got signatures of pretty much, I think the only ones I'm missing out of the ones that are alive are Matt Smith and Christopher Eccleston, but I'll get them at some point. Yes. But it's been signed by about 40-odd Doctor Who guest stars or companions or doctors. So there's over 40 signatures on it. And it's
wow.
none of it is personalised to me. Hopefully at some point that'll be my retirement fund.
Yeah, that is amazing, honestly. And that's dedication as well for you as well, to actually go and, hunt down all of the people and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's that one, there's like a Game of Thrones one as well I've got, but I designed that after the first series without really knowing where that was going to go. So it's a little bit possibly outdated, and that's another point about jumping on the bandwagon, like when they bring out these official versions the minute something's a hit, is 3-4 seasons down the line, that game's going to be obsolete. I'd rather do it when it's established and recognised. So there's those ones that I just signed, and I've still got those, and maybe one day I will find a way to get them auctioned off either for charity or to a well-meaning bidder or fan. The ones that I've got signed for myself aren't going anywhere, and out of all those, I've got a few favourites. I'll say Robert Hayes from Airplane, who played Ted Stryker, just because he was awesome. I have 2 games signed by Mr. Kevin Smith, which I believe does an intro to Talking Codswallop at the beginning.
He does. I got it. I managed to get it there and then that certain day.
Did.
Yes.
You did, because he was all these signs saying no photos and no interviews, but you got him.
I got him, and that's all thanks to yourself as well, because where you were there early with the stallholder pass, you managed to get me an earlier pass. I did. Yeah, to actually get. Yeah, so thank you ever so much for that.
That's okay. A perk of the job. These days they don't quite do it so much as they've sort of changed the rules a little bit, but where I can, I will. Yeah, no, I've got 2 signed by him. So one is a general Kevin Smith board, which is all his films, podcasts, projects, etc., characters featured, which at that particular Comic-Con, he admired my board game shirt first off and then signed it. And then in a world in which he had security behind him and a sign saying no post photographs, got me to pose for a photograph holding the board, which he then put on his Instagram. I've sent the invoice. He hasn't paid the fee yet, but...
Can you tag on my fee as well? Because at the same event, he took a photo of my leg. Because I had a Tell 'em Steve Dave tattoo, but it's now developed into a Smod tattoo, basically.
Nice. There's that one, and then I was lucky enough when he took Jay and Silent Bob reboot to the Prince Charles Cinema in November 2019, before the world went mad. I bought 2 tickets when they announced it. He was doing a Q&A, and then my wife couldn't make it, so I invited another friend of mine, and I had the reboot board had come back from the printers, and I had it by my desk at work. And then the cinema announced that he wouldn't be doing any signings. So I was there, thought, well, I'll just leave it at work then, rather than carry it around with me. Until the friend that I'd sort of said, I've got a spare ticket. Do you want to come along tonight and see this? He said, yes. He goes, did you do a board game on? I said, I did one. Yeah, I put it on Twitter the other week. He said, I might be able to help you there. I said, he's not doing signings. And my friend said, I know someone you don't, and they might be able to get it signed for you. And I was like, okay. And my friend knew one of his PAs, one of his assistants over in the UK. That was going to be at the event. And so my friend has done a few events of his own in the past, organising and promoting. So he knew this person. He kindly messaged her and said, have you seen this? And she went, I think Kevin saw this on Twitter the other week. And he said, well, I know the guy who made it. Do you want to bring it along? And she went, yes. And he went, I can make that happen. So thankfully, we got there. We went to see the film. I met the PA in question. She was very kind and loving, but she was like, I can't guarantee he can sign it because he's very tight scheduled. There's 3 screenings tonight alone. You know what he's like when he does a Q&A. Yeah. He gets lengthy. She goes, so I can't. I said, no, it's fine. I said, but I've made it, and I wasn't going to bring it because he said there's no signings, but I brought it along just in case because my friend intimated that there might be a chance getting it signed, but I can't guarantee. I said, well, it's fine. I brought it along. They said there's no signings. I only brought it along because there was maybe a small chance it could get signed, but it's not a problem. And the PA sort of said, well, I've got a cameo in the movie. I think that's amazing. I'd like one, actually. And I was like, well, I can arrange that. We saw the film. We saw the Q&A. My friend and I left. And as we rounded the corner to go back to the station, his phone rang. And basically it was, get it here now. He'll sign it. So we pegged it back to the Prince Charles Cinema, got ourselves ushered through. And we went backstage with Kevin, and he had a few friends with him. And he very kindly signed it. He told me he'd seen it on Twitter. And when I'd posted the original sort of design on Twitter a few weeks prior, I'd just put, I've designed this on a film I haven't seen, using only articles I've read, screenshots of a trailer, and not much real context. And he goes, yeah, I saw that on Twitter. He said, and I thought you'd done a pretty good job. He says, so yeah, awesome. So bless him, he signed that again, and he remembered me from the last time from Comic-Con as well. So yeah, he kindly signed it. I had a 2-minute chat about Star Wars because my friend I was with was a big Star Wars fan. And then I wished him to have a week and left, and it was just awesome to get done.
Oh, that's amazing. And he's such a nice guy, because I remember being so nervous before meeting him. And I was actually shaking. To be fair, because like I referenced earlier with regards to the fact that I'm diabetic and stuff, it might have been the fact that I was lack of sugar and stuff like that. But because at that point I didn't know I was diabetic. But yeah, I was absolutely shaking. Like I was so excited, but also really nervous about meeting him. The nerves was not necessary at all. So yeah,
he's a very welcoming, very friendly guy. I think he's the sort of guy that he's as big a fan of you as you are of him, which comes across with like he's as excited to meet you as you are to meet him. So that's really cool.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Yeah, no, I agree. Sort of going back to I'm sort of jumping around a little bit here, but going back to the table at Comic-Con, because me and you have had a chat sort of prior to this. It's just an idea that I'm playing around with at the moment, but I was thinking of maybe getting a table at a Comic-Con one time or in the future or whatever for the podcast to kind of promote the podcast. And I just wondered what's involved with, how do you go about getting the tables, and if I may ask, how much does it cost and whatnot? But if you'd rather not go into costs, that's absolutely fine.
Well, but only because I'm not 100% sure. Are you talking just to be like promoting the podcast?
Yeah, probably. In my head, I was thinking like just get like a little table somewhere and maybe set up a microphone and interview people as they sort of go past and whatnot. But more just kind of like tell people that we're here and.
Sure.
Yeah.
This is the thing. I mean, I'm talking from a dealer stroke exhibitor sort of perspective. So I don't know whether you'd come under maybe Artist Alley or if there's like a special like press media section. But if you go to the London Film and Comic Con or the Showmasters website, they should have a section there for exhibitors or press and media. For me, for a standard 6-foot by 2-foot table stall with backing walls. And a back and table. I want to say that was £360 for the 3-day weekend at London Film and Comic Con.
It's not too bad, is it?
£120 a day. You might need power. This is the thing, they'll charge extra for power and stuff if you're recording and what have you. It depends on what sort of setup you've got. Yeah. But going to the Showmasters website and seeing if they've got anything there to tell you, or failing that, drop them an email. I think it's normally Zoe that's the admin there, and they should be able to tell you anything you need to know. But most of the information is on the website, and you can sign up to be notified as a dealer or exhibitor. So maybe drop them an email and see what they come back with, because I don't know if anyone's doing that. You again might be a unique stall as well by doing that, because I don't really see many podcasts being touted. I see people handing out flyers maybe, but not actually having a dedicated stall there. So that could be a unique point for you as well.
Yeah, because that's what I was kind of thinking. Thinking outside of the box a little bit, really, because obviously we've had press passes for quite a few Comic-Cons now. Not to sort of gloat, but we're quite proud of it. So, it's always fun. I mean, I have to sort of build up my confidence kind of thing with regards to like going up to people. So, I love chatting to people, but at the same time, I always get really, really nervous about chatting to people as well. So it's one of those things that,
take out a stall and make them come to you.
Well, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Yeah. But I'm always forever giving out badges and flyers and stuff like that. So at Comic-Cons, and usually James sort of pushes me in the right direction or in the wrong direction, as one of the interviews was. He sent me over to a couple of cosplayers that had done Star Wars, and the cosplay were absolutely amazing. There was nothing, these people were amazing. And they had something to do with the love of sci-fi Comic-Con.
Right,
and, yeah, so we weren't at that one, but we were, obviously they had a lot to do with it. Problem was, I didn't really know anything about what they were talking about. So it really came across that, because I like Star Wars, but I'm not passionate about Star Wars.
Sure.
So, yeah, and I'd never been to a love of a love of sci-fi. So, yeah, it was very awkward. But at the same time, it broke my bubble. And then I was going around talking to all sorts of people then, So
yeah,
he did me a favour.
That's what I found. That my first Comic-Con as an exhibitor, I was there with the stall, and my wife was there, and my nephew were there, sort of backing me up and supporting me. And then the doors sort of opened. I had the stall set up the day before. The doors opened for the first day on the Saturday, and my nephew said, "What do you want me to say to people when they come over?" At which point I just looked at them and went, "Good point. I don't know." I have no idea what I'm actually here now. I've actually got to think about this. This is important. So yeah, it was one of those sort of crazy on the fly. The minute someone came over, it was this is what I do. I kind of make stuff, and yeah, it's evolved over the years into a much more coherent speech than it was. But yeah, it's knowing what to say to people and also engaging with them, because especially if you say you can do anything, they're going to bring up their fandom. And at the very least, I sort of try to glean what I can about it, so I can go, "Oh, that I know what you're talking about."
Yes.
And even if I don't, the whole point of me doing this is I'm going to research it. So I'll soon get to know about it.
Yeah.
I mean, one board game I'm working on at the moment is a long-running British TV series, which I'm on series 5. There are 8 series. I've never seen it before. I'm binging through it now. I'm making notes. I'm sort of calling up files as I go along and just putting pieces together, knitting it together slowly but surely, and then I'll jiggle it around and make it make sense. But I've never seen it, don't know anything about it, but I'm working on it and I'm working through it now. There's 8 series. And I've sort of emailed the customer and gone, just bear with me while I'm watching it. It's not wanted for a few months yet, but I'm just putting bits together in my own head and on my notes. So yeah, it's that thing you talk to people at Comic-Con, and it's as long as you've got a bit of knowledge about it, then I think they're willing to put their faith and trust in you that you will research it.
Yeah, and on average, how long does it actually take for you to sort of create a board?
I mean, I normally say 6 to 8 weeks from design to finish. Sometimes it can be quicker, and sometimes it might be a bit longer. It depends on the theme, really.
Yeah.
If it's something I can watch like a film, I can normally get the design together and get that done. If it's like someone's family, then that research comes from them. They have to tell me who's who and what's what. And, you know, if they want things on the game cards, like how their sister used to hide behind the sofa during Doctor Who, or how they were thrown out of a supermarket for a toilet accident when they were 3 or something. I can't research that. They have to tell me these things.
Yeah. Obviously, that is brilliant. And I think the idea of capturing your family on a board game is just really amazing, especially if it's like a special birthday as well.
Absolutely. Yeah,
definitely. Well, I was going to sort of wrap up the episode now, but before you go, did you want to give us all of your social media, website and information like that, so that people can go find you and maybe get early Christmas presents sorted,
Christmas, corporate events, bar mitzvahs, weddings, birthdays, everything. The website, which you kind of may have got the gist from everything that goes into the board games. The website needs constant updating, and it still needs updating at the moment because I'm too busy making the games to keep the website up to speed. But the website is www.internationalridicule.co.uk, or you can find me on facebook.com/internationalridicule, or if you're on Twitter and Instagram, it's @IRBoards.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. And what I will... Yeah, no, you're absolutely welcome. I think, it's like I said at the very beginning, it's lovely when somebody's got something creative that, we can sort of discuss. But it's also nice to just catch up with you as well, because,
absolutely.
We've sort of become friends. I mean, okay, it's more of an electronic friend, unless you're at a Comic-Con kind of thing.
We met in the queue for Kevin Smith after chatting on the Tell 'em Steve Dave UK Facebook page. I think we got into a conversation on there, on someone's post. And then when we were in the queue for Kevin Smith, we chatted and then realised that we were the people that had been chatting to each other on the Facebook page. So it was like, oh, of all the people in the queue, I'm right behind you.
which is always fantastic. So, and I always like it that way. But, obviously it's nice to see people in person as well. So anytime you're back in Dorset, let me know. I always say it, you always forget, but never mind.
well, the problem is I've not been able to get home to Dorset for over a year now. So
yeah, fair enough.
That's half the battle. Hopefully once we're all jabbed up, I can get down to Dorset and see my family. And yes, if I find myself near Weymouth and surrounding areas, I will tap you up.
Yes. Yeah, fantastic. We'll look forward to seeing you. So I think in this case then, Garry, I was going to call you James for a second there.
I'll answer to anything if you're going to buy a board game.
You have to have false teeth and a glory hole, so, if you're James.
I'm flexible.
Well, in that case, Garry, I think that we've been talking enough Codswallop this week. I have been Gemma.
And I've been Garry.
You have. Thank you ever so much. And everyone go and check out his boards because honestly, you will be mind blown. So there we go.
Thank you.